and welcome to day 2 of the God is a Geek Game of the Year deliberations. On day 1, we had best re-release or remake, nicest or biggest surprise, and biggest disappointment. My name's Adam Cook, and here with me is Nicola Ardron.
Hello.
Chris White.
Hello.
And Gary Bailey.
Hello.
And we're going to dispense with the niceties because, in theory, you listened to yesterday's podcast and by the magic of time, it seems like only a day has passed. And maybe that's true. You'll never know. And I can't remember. So, day 2 is all about... Well, we're going to start off with best new franchise because we all agreed, I think, maybe it was only yesterday after all, that it's been a fantastic year for video games. But there's actually been quite a lot of new franchises. So I'm going to run down the list quickly. And as usual, we'll see where we cut, and we're going to get to a top 5. So the best new franchise category contains Horizon Zero Dawn, Neo, or Nio, however you want to pronounce it, For Honor, Battle Chasers, Cuphead, Absolver, ARMS, and Mario plus Rabbids. Now, I don't know what Battle Chasers is, so someone needs to enlighten me on that.
It's basically a JRPG, but not actually made in Japan. It's got the artwork of Joe Madureira, who did the Dark Side of stuff, and it's all based on, I think it's like his old comics. It's really good. It's great fun, actually. From what I've played of it, you sort of do it's almost like a dungeon crawler when you're in the main levels, but then you run into little enemies on the map, which then throws you into your standard turn-based combat stuff.
So you're saying we should cut it?
Harsh.
Well, we do have to have a little chat actually before we get too deep into cutting and not cutting, right? Because I think for there to be a game on this list to constitute best new franchise possibilities, we have to be 100% unequivocally certain it is going to have a sequel or seed more games. And the reason I say that is because I'm not convinced that Cuphead, Absolver, and Neo are going to be franchises.
Yeah, I'll be with you.
Agreed.
But we can bend it a little bit. The difficulty is if we say, actually, it's just best new game, that's a bit too close to Game of the Year. So we do have to kind of say...
New IP?
Yeah.
I'd go with that.
We can do that. We can do that. That's fine. As long as we keep it in this. I mean, we all... listen, I'm going to just nail my colours to the mast right away. We all in agreement that Horizon Zero Dawn is very high on...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what... I mean, because Cuphead's an interesting one because we've known about the game forever and it's fantastic. And in that respect, it kind of has to stay. I'm just... Again, I don't know. Will they make more? I mean, they're going to do another game. A studio doesn't...
I would have
think
thought
they are.
Make one
I'm sure
game.
I read something that they're in talks for a sequel.
Right, because it is. I believe it is lifetime exclusive to Xbox. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, it'd be amazing. It'd be perfect on Switch." It's not happening. I believe that the deal here is that how I'm trying to think of a similarity, like how Nintendo kind of funded Bayonetta 2.
Yeah.
This, Microsoft have put money into Cuphead, which means it's an Xbox exclusive. But it's not best new exclusive. I mean, how do we feel about Cuphead in this list then?
I'm happy for it to stay for now. I'd cut For Honor before Cuphead.
Right.
Why? I think, even though I don't like For Honor, I do think it deserves to be in there more than Cuphead.
For Honor strikes me as a game that, I'm trying to think of a comparison, but it strikes me as one of those games that the sequel will be cracking.
Yeah, agreed.
But it's just not
You're
very...
not convinced?
Good. It's very boring. And I don't know. I just don't think best can describe it in any way.
Are you talking about the single player or multiplayer or both?
Both.
Okay, because I would be with you with the single player.
Just...
The multiplayer is actually, I find, quite interesting. I mean, Mario plus Rabbids is a game that will almost certainly see a sequel, right? And it is superb. But ARMS is another one. I don't know which of the team put this on the list, but I'm not an ARMS fan at all.
Yeah, never.
We
never
do need
played
to.
it.
I mean, Okay. Absolver's another interesting one, I think.
Yeah, as much as I enjoyed it,
haven't got around to play.
As much as I enjoyed it, I'm not sure it'll spawn a sequel.
I don't think it will either. It feels very one-off.
But is that in that case? Is it best new IP? Like, is it? I mean, even then, calling it best new IP suggests there will be more of it. Like, it kind of, because that's what happens in games now. Like a new game. I mean, I'm going to say it. Like right now, I think Horizon Zero Dawn wins this list, and I think it wins it at a canter. I don't think it's.
I think you're absolutely right, and I was just about to say exactly the same thing. Let's just not beat about the bush here. Horizon Zero Dawn is number one.
Yeah, I don't think it's even a competition. I don't. In that respect, I think it is more about what makes up the rest of it. I mean, does anyone disagree with that?
No,
I'm with you, mate.
I mean, I grew a bit bored of it after a while, but I'd still say.
Oh, Gary, don't start. It's too early, Gary.
No.
It's too early.
But I do know that it is a cracking game still, and it deserves all the plaudits it gets. And
I mean, I kind of feel like Mario plus Rabbids just deserves a place because not only is it a terrific game, for a long time people thought it was fake, and yet here it is.
Yeah, it was the one.
It's
It was one that, I mean, I don't know. Perhaps it should have been in the surprise. Like, was it in the top one? No, it wasn't in the top of it. Because it just.
I kind of feel like it. Sorry, Gary. Sorry,
no,
carry
on.
No.
Very British of us.
I'll cut all this.
Yeah.
I'll just make it. I'll cut in Nicholas swearing and make it sound like she's abusing you.
No, everyone thought it was going to be terrible when they found out it was real, and
well, the concept sounds terrible.
Yeah,
like it does.
Yeah, and then
it sounds awful.
Yeah, and then it came along and it was like, hang on, this is XCOM with Mario and Rabbids, and actually looks really fucking good. And then you play it and find it is actually really good. I mean,
it is the XCOM Rabbids.
Yeah, I mean, it does still suffer from some of the XCOM problems, but I don't know. It's just still it's more fun.
I mean, the difficulty curve is all over the place on that game. Like, I found World 3 really hard, and then I found by the end of it I was so overpowered. Like, even like, despite the fact I had multiple crashes on the last boss, I found it very easy.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is one of the best new IPs. I think it's just so different and unique, and like, you know, Mario's in a game where there's a character that says the word fuck, which is in itself worthy of an award, but it's asterisked out, but like, it's very clear. Or is it shit? I can't remember. It's one of the two. But to me, that warrants an inclusion.
I would say that should be in the top 5.
I kind of felt like it didn't deserve to be there because it's an amalgamation of two already well-known IPs.
Yeah, but one of them is really bad. Like, Rabbids are not... These games are, at best, okay.
Oh, the first one was good.
Like but when was the first one?
The very first one, which was just like Rayman. No, I can't remember it had Rayman in the title, or it was just Raving Rabbids.
That's what I'm saying. What year are we talking that the first one was good, and since then they've...
Oh yeah, I mean, that was like on the Wii, so it's gone back a while, yeah.
Like, and also the thing about it that kind of... I don't think Mario's... Like, I actually found it annoying that you have to keep Mario in your party, because he's... In this game, and I suppose in all of them when you think about it, he's not the best part of the game. You know, like the Rabbids and the creation and the characterizations and the silliness and the fun. Like, it's all Rabbids in that game, really. You know, like, Rabbid Peach or Rabbid Luigi. Like, they're all better. Like, because they're able to take liberties, because they're not Mario, they're not Luigi. They're able to take liberties without the characters that make them just tremendous fun. Like, let's not forget, like, Luigi dabs in it again, and you know, I think it's brilliant. I think it's a brilliant game with some slightly uneven difficulty. That, like, I mean, I think it would probably be my number 2 because, well, I mean, Cuphead, if it stayed on the list, would perhaps be above it, but I found it to be just interesting and quite addictive. But I mean, are there any that anyone wants to cut? Chris, what are you saying?
I'm just kind of surprised it's not, because I mean, there are good games on this list, and then some of them are just a bit like, for new IPs, they're not like blow me away. Like, I'm surprised there's not more on this list, because I can't think of anything else that's there. Like,
so
however, Horizon.
Would Hellblade?
Well, I was thinking Hellblade, but
We can add Hellblade.
because that
mean,
instantly would go in my top 5 anyway.
I mean, I've not
Yeah,
actually
we can
played
have
it, but
Hellblade.
from all the stuff that people have said about it, it's, I don't know, it feels like maybe it should go up there. And especially it got a lot of high scores, didn't it?
I mean, what we cutting then, Chris? Like,
So
if you're looking down this
I would
list,
straight away I'd get rid of Absolver.
right?
I've never heard of Battle Chasers, so I've not really got an opinion on it. But seeing as no one's really played it, I don't know whether it should be on the list. In this, when Horizon and Hellblade and Neo and Mario and Rabbids are on. So I've cut
Suddenly
that.
I'm no one.
Well, ignoring
I
that,
haven't played
that
Battle
barb,
Chasers either, so get rid.
yeah, I have to say,
Yeah,
like, I hadn't even
I-
heard of it. I mean, I must have, but I just can't place it.
It's one of those ones which is a real shame because it deserves to be played, but I don't know. I mean, it didn't seem to get much like reviews and stuff. Like, I don't remember seeing many out there.
I mean, I am in the midst of a stinking head cold, but I don't remember if we covered it or not. And it's rare I can say
I
that.
don't think
like,
we
generally
did.
speaking,
No, I don't think we have.
I think we didn't, because if we had, I'm sure even the state I'm in, I'd remember. So, are we cutting Absolver? Is
Oh,
anyone against
yeah.
Absolver?
Yeah, as much as I enjoyed it, like I say, I'd just I'd cut it.
Nicola?
I kind
don't
of want
seem sure.
Arms to disappear just because it annoys
See-
me.
See, ARMS is a weird one because as much as I'm not a big fan of it, I can absolutely respect it as a new IP because it does. It's different. Like, it is different. It's a fighting game, but it's not a traditional 2D side-on fighting game. It's like Nintendo did with Splatoon before
Wii
Splatoon
boxing
2.
in it, kind of.
It's kind of Wii boxing, but like it's more involved than that, and it's got character and lore. Believe it or not, as ridiculous as it sounds, but like in the past, people have said about Nintendo, and like Microsoft do this as well. Like, Microsoft just put out Gears and Halo and Forza. Nintendo just put out Zelda and Mario and whatever. This is not that. This is them saying we're going to try something different, and I don't know. There's that many big publishers actually doing that, and
All right, keep it on
I'm
for
sort
now,
of
then.
torn on it.
I'd get rid of.
Yeah, maybe get rid of Absolver and get rid of Battle
Okay.
Chasers.
I'd get rid of Cuphead, to be honest.
I mean, Gaz, unless you want to fight for Battle Chasers, it's on the precipice here, mate.
I don't think I can. It's like I say, as much as I enjoyed it, and it deserves to be played. No.
So this is going quite well. We've got a list of 1 so far, and there's 6 here. So we only need to cut 2 of these games from Hellblade, Neo, For Honor, Cuphead, ARMS, Mario plus Rabbids.
I still say For Honor should go.
I think For Honor needs to stay. I'm sorry,
It's such a bland game. It just did nothing.
but like Adam says, I think that there is potential there, and let's give Ubi a bit of credit here.
They're doing the new
an
IP thing
interesting. It's an interesting take on the multiplayer, and I think it was a risk for Ubi. And it
I mean,
hasn't
there's 2 Ubisoft
necessarily
games on
paid
here.
off. That's
There's
true.
2 Ubisoft games on here, which is interesting because I'm just, like, as we do this now, thinking about the big publishers like Activision, well, Destiny 2, Call of Duty, these aren't new series. Warner Brothers, Shadow of War, not new. I'm just running down the list, do you know what I mean? Thinking about publishers that are taking risks, and and I'm sort of coming up blank. I mean, in terms of the big third parties, like, Sony are doing it, but I'm sort of coming up blank unless anyone can think of
EA
like a
have done,
publisher.
I mean, not this year, but EA have got Anthem coming. But
I feel like there's another EA game this year that I'm forgetting that was new.
there was.
Or was that the announcement of that co-op game?
Yeah,
that
there
I
was
forgot
that.
the name
What,
of?
is it A Way Out?
Is that the Breakout prison
Yeah.
one? Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be hilarious. Anyway,
Until they have microtransactions. Yeah.
well, true.
Which
Right.
we got to cut one.
Right.
Chris, shout a game you want to cut. You say
Cuphead.
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 Yeah.
Why? What? I'm intrigued.
Okay. So, Hellblade was a fantastic game for story, visual, sound design. It did things that no other game has ever done before. Not just the kind of protagonist's mental health. It was very linear, but it was fine. Like, I loved just following that one route through, and there you kind of dip off to the side to fight or collect little things, but it was just really smart, and the kind of FMV cutting with the actual game was just really well done, and visually it was just stunning. One of the best I've seen on the PS4. So that definitely should be it. Neo, I thought, was a really fascinating kind of world, really kind of deep history there, you know, put in with the realms of this fantasy, this dark fantasy. Yes, it was very similar to Dark Souls that me and Nick got lambasted for on YouTube, but hey.
Don't mention Dark Souls, Chris.
Great times.
I know, yeah,
great times.
yeah. But it tried the different stances and it did a lot with what it had, and I really enjoyed that. For Honor, the single player was despicable. However, I really enjoyed the multiplayer. I think it's one of my favourite experiences of the year, especially that first beta that went live. It was something completely new I'd not seen, and granted, I've not been back to it since all the seasons came out, because they're doing a lot with the people that are playing it still. Maybe
do you know what strikes me a little bit about For Honor is earlier in the year, if you recall, well, I say earlier in the year, in this year, before EA took the mantle and became the most hated by everyone on Twitter, that title was Ubisoft's, and people went after Wildlands, which you know, we've got a best multiplayer category, and I'm not going to jump the gun too much, but there's some moments in that I really liked. For Honor is kind of the same. Yes, it had a bad single player, but again, the multiplayer was different and interesting, and it was often ruined by the player base, but you can't really blame Ubisoft for that. Like, that's like blaming a Call of Duty player for playing Battlefield. You know, that we've talked about this on the podcast before. You can't really blame the developer.
No,
they can't design for people's intent, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll be honest, and I'm going to shock you here, I think the one that initially stands out that I think I would like to cut is Neo, because the Dark Souls thing, like, it is a good game. I won't deny that it is a good game, but I think most people who listen to this will know my first ever platinum, finally got one, was Bloodborne. Big Dark Souls fan, played through Dark Souls 3 all the way through when it was in debug code on the PS4, played it through again on retail code. I think I've played it through since, done the DLC. But Neo, there was something about it that I just didn't... I can recognise it as good, and I love the fact that you could get a 60 frames version of it if you're playing on PS4 Pro, sacrifice a bit of the visual fidelity. Love that, I think that's a great option. It just didn't connect with me as much as I wanted it to, and I think that's because I was... And even more so later in the year, when The Surge came out, which was literally broken for me. I had a bug which everyone just found out they fixed. But, like, I think at the moment I'm a little bit soulsed out. Like, that's a very specific niche of a genre, and we were hit hard and heavy with them a lot for a little while there.
Yeah, I agree with that. Kind of, when I keep seeing now, like, oh look, it's the new Dark Souls, I'm like, oh great, another one.
Yep.
It's kind of...
Don't mention Dark Souls, Gary. Don't do it.
I'm quite excited for I forget the name of it because it's got such a terrible name. The Bandai Namco one, Code Vein, awful name.
Yes, it is. I thought it'd just be a prototype name, kind of, you know, like placeholder. Sorry, I thought it'd be that.
Of course, you did, because why would you? Yeah,
and
one would assume, but I feel like that is a little. What I haven't played it, but what I've seen of it strikes me as slightly cynical, because it really does look like they went, well, look, From Software aren't going to be making any more of these, so we just make one ourselves, and that doesn't make it good.
Yes, same publisher.
Whereas Cup, yeah,
So,
that's right, yeah. Whereas Cuphead for me is difficult to let go of that because of the personal thing with my son playing through it. Like I found that game difficult. But watching him like study YouTubers, watching him then go and put that into practice and get together, like he's on the last boss. I helped him do a couple of the sort of more shmup based levels. I think that game's fascinating because I know friend of the site Darren, his son's completed it and he's a similar age. I would never have believed a 10 or 11-year-old kid could complete this game, and I think that's fascinating, really fascinating. So, I mean, I think I'd cut Neo, and it would be between Arms and Hellblade for me then, I think.
Right, that's a fair argument, I think. I think that's fair enough.
But it is my personal argument. This is a site
Yeah, no,
list,
I get it.
Know.
I think we should... I can't cut Hellblade, mate. It was too much. Like the whole experience of playing it in such a short kind of time, and just witnessing it. What was kind of happening as I played.
I mean, it's one I want to go back to, Chris. Like,
it's
I bounced
certainly
off it a
worth
bit.
it. And I don't want to be one of those
It's
guys
beautiful.
that just, it's amazing, it's the best thing you'll play, and then it might not be. But I genuinely think if you respect video games and you like to see different things being done, and not just for the sake of trying new things, it just genuinely, there's no HUD. There's, that's instantly great. You don't necessarily need one. It doesn't there's not so many puzzles that you get bored or wound up and tired of them. There's not loads of fighting, but when you do fight, it's very kind of intense, and you really have to concentrate on when you're attacking. It's not a hack and slash by any means. It's kind of has that. I don't want to say the Dark Souls, but it does. It does, because it's very intense.
We've more than exhausted our Dark Souls references for one podcast.
Yes, exactly. But that's why I couldn't cut. I'm easier to cut Neo than I am Hellblade. And
So,
as for Arms, like I played the demo when we went to that Switch thing, and like it was.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah,
God.
It was fine, but like Gary said, to me, it was just like a glorified Wii boxing, and it didn't really do. It was fine. Like I don't know. It didn't really excite me.
There is more to it than that.
No,
but
I get
I'm
that.
not going to stand here and tell you how great it is, because I don't believe that. I should go back to it since they've updated it and all that, but I don't. And I'll be honest with you, it bounced off my kids as well. I thought they'd be all over that, but I don't know.
I kind of want to get rid of it just because it annoys me. And now I don't know if that's like
Well, I mean,
best reason to get rid of it.
let's
but
put it this way, right,
everything
Nicola?
about it winds me up.
The list as it stands, I've sort of done what I think the temperature of the room is here. We've all agreed Horizon wins this category. We will talk about Horizon in the next category actually more. So if you feel like we're giving it short change, you'll probably hear more about why we think that's best new IP in the next category. But it feels like, so the top 5 is Horizon Zero Dawn, and then we've got For Honor, that doesn't feel like it's being let go of, Mario and Rabbids, which I don't think is going to be let go of, Hellblade, which Chris feels very strongly about, which means it feels like one from this following 3 needs to jump into that top 5, then we can arrange them, and that's Neo, Cuphead and ARMS, and I'm obviously in favour of Cuphead.
I think I want Cuphead up there as well.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably go with that. Neo was
Are we
good,
okay with
but
that?
again, it was kind of, I don't know, there was something about it that wasn't great. I don't know, you don't really want to go back to it. Like, you think of you think of the Dark Souls games, again, we're mentioning it, but you can replay them over and over. And I mean,
and I did. I have.
I have done with a few of them, but I mean, that one just, not really struck by it.
So, I've put a list of how I think I feel, so we need to move from there and get this to how we feel. I've got Mario plus Rabbids at number 2, because I just think it's such an incredibly strong debut and will 100% be sequelised, and I've put Cuphead below it, Hellblade below that, and For Honor at 5. And the reason I put For Honor at 5 there is because Gary feels quite strongly in the opposite camp to myself and Nicola and Chris. But then saying that it's 3v1, so does it need to come up a bit?
I feel that For Honor's in the right place. I'm not sure Cuphead and Hellblade.
Okay.
I might switch them round, but I don't feel strongly enough about either of them.
Well, yeah.
I do.
I feel like this is a disappointing category. We're a bit lukewarm, aren't we? A bit lukewarm on this. We're warming up.
Well, I think that's mostly because, like, it was such an obvious winner. Like that, it didn't feel like, it doesn't really feel like it needs much discussion. There's such an obvious winner here, like, because of how strongly all but one of us, Gary, doesn't feels about the winner. Like the winner of this category is Horizon Zero Dawn. I mean, if you want to try and change that, Gaz, go for it. But
no, like I say, I grew bored of it after a while. But again, like I say, I can still see the quality in it, even through that, which I think kind of speaks for itself. If I still think it's quality, even though I didn't, I got bored before finishing it.
It's bugging me that I feel like we're missing one here. Like, are there any other games that we're missing from this?
been racking my brains.
I've had
I
a
can't
look whilst
think
we've
of
been
any.
talking to try and find something, but
No,
think-
'cause they're,
I can't.
they're all kind of... A lot of them are sequels, or they're like...
It's been a year of games delivering on a sequel, but delivering in massive ways,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Or it's like, it's indie games which are probably not getting sequels. You know, it's like, they're really
Yeah.
good, but they're not going to get a sequel.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So I don't
So what-
want to mix things up too much, but I'm not comfortable with Hellblade being fourth. I'd think it deserves to be a bit higher.
I'd be happy with it switching with Cuphead.
I mean, it really depends on what we're talking about in terms of this category, because I don't think Hellblade is going to be a game we see any more of. That I think is the definition of a one and done. But then I'm not convinced that Cuphead will be sequelised either, because it took them that long to make this one. I just don't see another one coming for a very long time.
Maybe
But then,
we should go for the good old-fashioned democracy. And leave,
which is what?
Which is we'll all choose. It's kind of up to Gary, I guess. So
I'll be honest. I'm not. If you really feel strongly, like that strongly about Hellblade, I don't have a problem with it going. You played it. I haven't finished it.
Well,
like,
I do.
I
do feel quite strongly about it.
Like, if we were talking Game of the Year, I would be fighting for Cuphead, because I think that is an incredible game. But in terms of best new IP, I'm just happy that of number 1 and 2. Do you know what I mean? I'm also quite happy For Honor got a shout, because I feel like it's a game that has been completely forgotten, and the thing that I feel Ubisoft have done better than anyone. Well, no, yeah, all right, guys. I feel like the thing Ubisoft has done better than anyone is they've understood and actioned how to keep people playing games. So while everyone else is off, we're going to talk about Star Wars at some point, but the Battlefront thing, you know, they that's their idea of getting people to keep playing, and it's backfired. Other developers doing it. Like, when you look at Ubisoft, they're still doing stuff with Rainbow Six Siege. And For Honor, like, is season 2 or season 3 or whatever it is. Like, they have managed to keep people playing their games without going down the path of, like, essentially nickel and diming them. And I think that is fascinating, because, like, not you know. And in fact, Wildlands is another one where they're adding stuff to it seemingly every other week, every other month, I should say. You know, they added the PvP and stuff. Like,
I'm still surprised they've not added a PUBG version.
I mean, it might
like Battle Royale kind of thing. It's sort of,
I mean, they could.
That's
that
it. It's
PvP
kind of
they've
made
just
for it.
released. Isn't that what that is? I thought that was.
It's not 1v100 though, is it? It's not.
No,
It's
100.
awful. Just
Is it?
whispering quietly here, it's awful.
Is it?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem a game built for PvP, to be honest. But yeah, we'll talk about that in best multiplayer. So what are we doing here?
Actually, should PUBG be on this list?
Oh, we're so
Or
close.
are we not counting it because it's not fully released? Would you count that as maybe like next year when it's potentially
Gaz, why
finished?
did you have to say it? That's
Because I mentioned it a minute ago, it just came to my mind.
Right.
I don't think it should, because it's not complete.
See, I'm only mentioning it.
But it might be by the time this is out, because they said they're going to be going version 1.0, which makes it a release candidate, and that's December.
They've not. Well, as we're talking, they've not even released the desert map yet on the PC.
No, but that doesn't make it complete. The point is once the game hits V1.0, it is out of early access and just being up. I mean, it stays in early access, I suppose, while they're updating it, but it's still the release candidate. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it'd push For Honor out. Just saying, but
the trouble with PUBG, is it could win a lot of categories just by hook of the size of the fucking thing.
I mean, saying that, is it the sort of game that will get a sequel, or is it just one that just keeps adding?
That's a one-off, I think.
It's also
PUBG's a
difficult
one-off.
because a lot of the stuff in that game is learned from previous games that have all been kind of mods.
I mean, I'm happy for it to stay sort of as is. Well, once we work out the Cuphead Hellblade situation, but it's kind of up to you guys whether you think Battlegrounds should make an appearance or not.
Oh God. Oh,
Passing
God.
the buck,
That is
basically.
that is literally the cat among the pigeons. That is.
What about Fortnite then? I've just thought of that.
Yeah, but is that best anything? I know what you're saying.
So I mean, I suppose that's only really become properly popular.
That's still in
because
early
of
access as
Battlegrounds.
well, in fairness.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one's
true.
weird because that one you can buy on PS4 and Xbox on the disc in game or wherever, and it's not out properly.
Yeah.
It's an early access, and that is weird because Sony don't do early access. officially. Like, they don't have a preview program unless you're Epic Games, where you can have 2.
Yeah. Well, they did Ark. There wasn't one Ark on there before it was released.
No, I don't think Ark was on PS4.
Was it just the
Preview in
only...
Xbox, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because that's out now. That game's out. That's...
I'd say Fortnite is a no. Just purely by the fact that it's only popular because people couldn't play PUBG.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically
very true.
I think that popularity is going to die off when, well, at least on the Xbox, like once Battlegrounds is
massively.
out.
Yeah, well, massively.
Or it's already out. Time travel.
It will be with time this goes up.
Yeah.
And we'll know if it's dreadful or good. We need to make a decision. I think we have to take a vote on whether PUBG counts. Because I think if it counts, I think it has to be in the list. So, Chris?
No.
Gaz?
No.
Nicola?
No.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. I was going to say yes, but it doesn't matter because I'm outvoted. So what are we doing here then? So we got 1 and 2 and 5 are sorted. Where are we putting Cuphead and Hellblade? Gaz, sorry, Chris, you say Cuphead 4 and Hellblade at 3.
Yeah.
Gaz?
I'd agree with that.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to ruin it because I think if we're going off the whole possible sequel thing, I think Cuphead's more likely to get a sequel, so it should be higher.
Oh, I was all set to agree with them, and you said that.
To be honest, I don't feel strongly enough about either of them, so I'm happy with it staying Cuphead, Hellblade.
I know how much Chris loves Hellblade, so the question is, Chris, putting that aside, your love for the game, do you feel it is a better new IP than Cuphead? And if you do, it goes to number 3.
Yeah,
that's the question.
I do.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I do.
I think given mine and Nicola's sort of, we're not fustedness. All right, that's the list then. So best new IP in 5th place, For Honor. And I think For Honor's interesting because I don't think we'll see a For Honor 2 for some time. I think that's going to be the way Siege is. I think that's the way they're going to, because they're doing it in seasons. So I think that might be there for a while. 4th place, Cuphead. 3rd place, Hellblade. 2nd place, Mario plus Rabbids. And number 1, Horizon Zero Dawn, which we have hardly talked about. But trust me, throughout this week, we are going to talk about Horizon Zero Dawn. And I'm going to have to take a swig of water because this is a long list of best stories. So, Chris, say hello to everyone for me.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
I'm so sorry.
Not awkward
what a time. No. Right,
That
best
was
story.
really natural. I think there was. You couldn't even see the join there. That was amazing.
No.
Amazing.
I mean, right, best story then. I get the feeling that getting a top 5 out of this is going to be a fucking bloodbath. But here we go.
God.
Best story. Horizon Zero Dawn, Injustice 2, Prey, What Remains of Edith Finch, Blackwood Crossing, Persona 5, Nier Automata, Night in the Woods, Thimbleweed Park, Yakuza 0, Tokyo Dark, Tacoma, Uncharted The Lost Legacy, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, Pyre.
Where'd you
Right.
start?
Get rid of Prey.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You beat me to it. I agree. I completely agree. Because I think it's a good game. But the story is definitely not.
Yeah,
Nah.
the story's not really. I don't know. It's just not really anything. It's just a kind of meh story.
And part of that is down to the fact that they were actually quite inclusive. And at the start of the game, you get to be a man or a woman, and either way, you're just the brother or the sister. But like part of that does, I think, force that they can't make quite the linear narrative. Because that's the thing. Like a game like this with such sort of creativity in how you can play it.
I think that's what the game is. The game isn't really about the story. It's about how you use the tools that you have to get through it. I think that's what the game is. The story is just a framework for hanging it off, really. It's
very,
all right.
It's very Bethesda, isn't it? Like loads of journals and notebooks everywhere that fill in the blanks. But like I don't read them. I mean, unless anyone's got any strong feelings, Prey can be an easy cut here, right?
Yep, never played it, so I'm fine cutting it.
Okay. Who suggested that? That was Nicola. Oh, okay. Chris, suggest a cut, please.
Okay. I would cut. Do you know what? I'm going to suggest a cut, but I want to give it some props before I do. And I think Nicola will agree. Blackwood Crossing. It's not gonna.
Yep.
It's not gonna stand in the top 5, I don't think. But it was a lovely story.
Shit, I've got to add one. Carry on.
It was a lovely story about kind of loss and dealing with it, and it just I just added. Yeah,
I've got to add that.
Yeah, and I just really appreciate the story. It's not a very long game. There are bits which do, I won't say drag on. They're not as clear as
they're
they
not
could
intuitive.
have been.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. But this is a tiny little developer, and I know little developers can build great games, but I just think it was a really moving tale.
It was a nice. Oh God, I can't even speak.
I'm so excited about all these stories.
I found it a pleasant surprise when I played it. It wasn't really what I was expecting, and it was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. But I agree, I don't think it's going to make top 5, so we might as well get rid of it now.
I think on that,
I'm struggling to remember the ending of it. That's the thing. I remember it being very moving. Yeah, I should say sorry before we go any further. Yeah, before we go any further, this and then the final day, like the ultimate game of the year category, probably the most spoilery we're going to be. If you haven't finished a game that we're talking about, especially when we get down to the nitty gritty, we're going to have to spoil it. It's the way but this is a best story category. So sorry, but from now on, we're going to be spoiling games. Okay, we will say the name of the game. We're not just going to go, oh, do you remember the ending of? We will say the name of the game. But yeah, so Blackwood Crossing was about you as the sister dealing with the loss
of your parents.
Was it not? Yeah, of your parents, but the brother as well.
Yeah, you find out during the course of it that the brother has died as well.
Yeah, and she's all on her own.
Yes.
I found some of the less obvious puzzling. It's not a difficult game, but it's not. It doesn't. Sometimes you think like, "Am I doing the right thing?" Kind of obfuscated the story a little bit. Like it's a very good game. It feels one of those kind of special games that it seemed like we sort of discovered as a site and that no one else was talking about.
Nobody spoke about it. No, I did see Mike Diver mention it briefly, like a month or so after it had been released, and I was kind of sat there thinking, yeah, people did cover it, Mike. They did cover it. But,
well, hopefully he listens and you can have an argument.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't mean it in that sense, but no, I didn't see an awful lot of.
No, there wasn't.
Coverage, and it was like I say, I was pleasantly surprised when I played it. I thought it was very good. And I remember when I was reviewing it, sort of messaging and saying, I think this is something a bit special. But I'm going to go back to what Chris originally said. It's not going to make top 5, so I'm happy to get rid now.
Okay. I've added here because I still haven't started it. I just wanted to put it there to get from Chris and Nicola whether it. Again, I've added it. Assassin's Creed Origins, or does it not? Because there's a lot of there's some serious competition. No one's saying the names of the games yet, but there's I think 4. Hang on, 1, 2, 3. I think 4 of these are just absolute locks for the top 5. So I put it here because it's a big game. Do I cut it straight away again?
I think it can be cut. I mean,
I just wanted to mention it just in case that we'd forgotten. But if it's obviously
no, I mean, I think the thing is with Assassin's Creed is it's such a huge game that the actual story becomes a little bit disjointed because there's so much stuff to do.
Yeah. And
I think it's narratively, it's not really pulling me through at all. What's pulling me through that game is just the world that we've talked about before. Get rid.
Do you? Sorry, you're completely right. I think it shouldn't be on the list. But I think one of the things Assassin's Creed did so well was the smaller stories and the little kind of tales that are are happening throughout the main story, but also to the kind of side of the story. And we touched upon it in a podcast a couple of weeks ago. But there's a story where, and I'll try because I know you want to play it, so I'll try and be a little kind of what's it.
But like it's tough. You know what I mean? I'm
right,
on here.
well, all right,
listeners
okay.
here. If you want to spoil, you spoil. I'll get over it. I won't cry myself to sleep tonight.
There's this scene later on where one of your allies that you make, this Roman fella, and his wife, their child goes missing. And you have to go and find her and try and rescue her. And you go through these separate locations and take down these guards, and she's not there. And you go again, and she's not there. And then this cutscene kind of kicks in. And
Okay,
it's like
I've heard this story.
In this lake. I don't think it's the Nile, but she's basically she's died and she's dead, and she's basically being chained to this thing underwater. So she drowned. They drowned her. And it's really brutal because of the way she died, the fact that someone felt the need that she had to die, and it just completely takes you by surprise because you just not expected her to be dead. You're expecting to find her. Well, I was anyway. I just didn't think they would go there, and they did. And it's one of many things that Assassin's Creed Origins did really well was the side stuff. So in terms of best story, the game doesn't have the best story, but it has those moments that you remember, and a lot of games don't always do that. It's your Skyrims and your Fallouts where you have those little moments dotted around.
Yeah.
But this did it, and I think it deserves a mention definitely.
Well, I think what you've just said there it makes it a contender in the best game of the year. The game of God, I cannot speak today. I'm having a real problem here. But yeah, overall, I don't think it's best story material though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got another that I'd like to get rid of as well.
Well, hang on. I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Gaz, you've got to cut one first.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't got to cut one. You've got to suggest one.
Yeah, I will. I mean, it was me that put it on the list, again, just to give it a bit of notice, but Tokyo Dark.
Yep.
Because
Okay.
it was a real surprise for me. You know, I didn't expect anything of it. I'm not really a visual novel person, and it's basically a visual novel mixed with a point and click kind of system.
Uh-huh.
And it has a really good story. You know, it's very much like, it's almost like a Japanese True Detective, which I think I might have said in the review. And
yeah,
you know, it's a really interesting story. It's got so many different endings and ways to play through it, stuff like that. And I don't know, the story really got me. But yeah, it's one that I think it just deserved a mention. And it just people should play it. But
that's one of the reasons we do put those kind of games in these lists. We know they're not going to perhaps make it to the top 5.
Yeah.
But it is nice to give a shout out to some of those games. Okay, I'm going to cut one now. Well, I'm going to try and get one cut. And Gary, are you sat down?
Go on.
Chris, are you sat down?
I
You're calm?
know what you're going to say.
No, you can't.
And
I think
we're both going to fight you for this one.
I think I know what you're going to say as well.
I'm going to suggest that Injustice 2 has no place on a top 5 in this company of best story.
What?
And I think Injustice 2 is a fantastic game, right? I do. However, best story is relative. Like, Injustice 2, in terms of a fighting game, is up against, in terms of story, shit. Like, Street Fighter tried it, failed. Like, Tekken didn't enjoy that at all. Like, it's very good for a fighting game, but it's also well-worn ground, and it's based on characters that they have certain parameters that they can do certain things with, universes that they can jump in and out of, that kind of thing. It's absolutely brilliant. Terrific fun, and a thoroughly enjoyable romp.
See, I think I've got to stop you there. Because you're saying about the parameters of the characters, and this is one that completely fucks that up. Superman's
not
the
in
bad
the same
guy.
way that Batman does. Yeah, but he's been the bad guy before.
Not like this, he hasn't.
Well, perhaps not quite like this, but he's not.
Basically, he's the ruler of Earth. You know, Batman and that. I mean, look, Wonder Woman is a fucking bad guy. Why does that make it best story? She was an asshole in it, like a real asshole. I enjoyed beating her, I think, more than any other character, because you're, who are you when you fight her? You're one, it's not Wonder Woman, the other one. You fight her as Harley at one point, I think.
Oh, I'm not thinking of the Harley fight. I'm sure you fight her. Oh no, she beats up, I can't think what the other... Not Supergirl. She beats up Supergirl, and then you become Harley, and you fight her, don't you?
Yeah.
And Supergirl is one of my favourite characters to play as. I think she's fantastic. I'm not saying it's a bad story, and I'm not saying I think it's a fantastic game, but honestly, I just, like... I'm looking at this list of 13 games, including this one, and if it were a top 10, I think, yeah, okay, cool. You've only got to cut 3 and it's in there, but like top 5... when you're against this level, I'm not saying it isn't good, I'm not saying it isn't great, but I'm not saying it didn't blow my mind. It was just, again, as someone who perhaps isn't as into my Marvel DC stuff, I know obviously this is DC, as you guys, it just seemed like one of them, and a well done one of them, but one of them. It didn't, like, I'm not thinking, oh, that was memorable. Like, I vaguely remember bits and pieces. It just, in terms of fighting games, it's best story. But in terms of the other games that are on this list, for me, it just can't hang with them.
Get rid.
Was that the one you were going to suggest? I mean, it doesn't sound like I've convinced them, so we'll have to come back to it.
Right.
I just think it just shakes up the DC.
I think one of the best things about it was the bit towards the end where you are given a choice of siding with Batman or Superman. When, like, I'm a Batman guy, I always kind of have been. But,
I think everyone is, aren't they?
But for this story, I sided with Superman.
Really?
For some fucking bizarre reason. And then, like, at the end, when Batman walks in with that...
Even his sister doesn't side with him.
I know. I don't know why, but hey. And then he walks in with that suit on, and it's like... I don't know, I just thought it's a really interesting way to take on the characters. And I know what you're saying, because there are a lot of good games on this list, but I don't think we should dismiss it just yet without going over all the others.
Okay. I've just added one to the list, and before we go to Nicola's next cut, I want to mention it. Now, I've put Super Mario Odyssey on this list because of the ending, which I think is the most significant part of Mario's story, possibly in the history of Mario games.
I'm not sure. You can't try and delete Injustice 2 and then add Mario Odyssey.
Okay,
basically nothing.
It's a best moment. It's a best moment then we need to talk about later. But okay, Nicola, what were you going to cut? I've cut Mario back off.
Tacoma.
Yeah.
I bounced off that so hard.
I didn't bounce off it, but I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad to say, actually. Sad to say, but I'm with Nicola. You same, Chris? Yeah?
I enjoyed it, but it wasn't. It wasn't, like, as I say, it's hard to try and pick 5 out of this list, but that wouldn't be one of the ones I'd keep in the top 5. I'm happy to kind of cut it.
Well done, Nicola.
Thanks. That's 2 out of 2. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, we've only got to cut 7 more.
Can I, before you move on, can we just say that Wolfenstein is definitely top 5?
I mean, 100%, and I'll fight to the death for that.
Okay, good.
In fact, it might be the only category I would fight to the death for it on, but I think in terms of best story, by Christ, it has to be in the discussion very high up. Chris.
Yes.
Pick a cut.
Pyre.
Okay, I thought you put that on the list.
I would, but it's a bit of a slog, and I think that
always something you like to hear when talking about the best thing.
But it's the like I was tempted to put this in best sports game, but I thought no. Cause,
I think that's a good shout.
You know, but then I thought no one's gonna really. I don't know who's gonna.
I think that's a very good shout.
But in terms of the story, it is very interesting, and the different ways it can go. I mean, it can end a lot sooner than it needs to. It can go on for ages. Not everyone gets through and passes the rights in the end, and it's just like there's a lot going on in it, and the way it tells the story as well is very interesting. And again, does it in a kind of visual novel style, but it kind of incorporates separate little bits of game as well into it, where you're controlling different characters through like little like twin stick shooter bits and other kind of bits that it does quite nicely. But it does take time, and it doesn't vary enough, I don't think. I could never really play it for more than a couple of hours at a time. It wasn't like massively engrossing, but I did like to kind of chip away at it.
But it's getting its dues now, as I mentioned. But I do think you're right. It needs to go. Yeah. Anyone going to defend it?
No.
Okay, it's gone. Gary, what's your choice next? It's very diplomatic, and we're all being very nice. This is good.
I've not played a few on this list, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle now. But I'd say Uncharted. It's very good, but it's an action film essentially. And it's like its story's good fun and everything, but I don't think it's like top 5 best stories kind of thing.
But then listen, right? Can action films not be your favourite film?
Oh, they can be a favourite film, but I don't know, just not.
Not every game has to speak to you.
Just not story-wise. It just. I don't think it's got enough substance, should I say, rather than, I suppose, just dismissing action films. Yeah, it's not got enough substance. I don't think for. Like, you're not going to remember most of it this time next year.
I am actually struggling to remember the actual story of it. Is it just me? Like she's.
I've not played it
Nathan
I fell out.
Nathan Drake
Uncharted
comes back
4.
and gets shot in the head by his brother,
and the balls,
and then it all goes tits up. I think the story in terms of what happens is very Uncharted. It's very typical of that series.
Yep.
But the characters, the writing that Naughty Dog do for these games is really good in terms of the character interactions, and not just when you're playing the game and they have the interactions between themselves, which are excellent, and they are very natural together. And Nadine and Chloe's relationship, the story for me is how that builds, and then as it builds this character that Chloe, that she's very much outgoing and noisy and brash, but you start to see the kind of vulnerability to her. And I think that's really good. And also Nadine, she opens up a bit as well. She's this very kind of hard exterior, but as the game progresses,
you see. I saw an article, Chris, that suggests that Nadine's gay.
Yeah.
And then there are cutscenes where like Nadine's kind of checking Chloe's ass out and stuff and it's very subtly done. And I totally missed it when I was playing it. But like that's quite cool, but it's not best story.
No, it's like Chris said. It's got great characters.
Yeah,
but I don't know, it's just not a memorable story. It's just more while you're playing it, you're enjoying the interaction between those characters.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
I'm happy for it to go because I haven't played it because Uncharted 4 annoyed me. So yeah, get rid.
I think it's got to go, but I think Thimbleweed Park needs to go as well, or we're being a bit harsh on Uncharted.
No, I don't think. I think Thimbleweed Park is a really, really good game, and it's nice to go back to that kind of point and click adventure in that kind of style that the guys that did it were very familiar with, like Ron Gilbert and David Fox, who I spoke to. Episode of iHot Video Games. You can go and get that on the website right now. But it was
nice.
Nice plug there, Chris.
It was just a really. It was difficult, but it never had to be. You just had to be logical with it. The puzzles were very kind of smart when you actually solve them. But in terms of story, it's kind of typical of what it was, But yeah, it was good, but it wasn't the best, So
are we cutting?
I would cut it.
Get rid.
Okay, now we're like we're in it. We're in it here.
Balls deep.
Has your opinion changed on Night in the Woods after we spoke on it in the last pod?
So I've had a good week to finish that game, and I can't do it. I'll tell you how bad it is. Well, it's not bad. I'll tell you how bad it was for me. I started playing Destiny 2 instead, and
Sorry. Really?
I sat there, because I sometimes this feels like work. Do you know what I mean? Like you get a game sometimes and it's not what you thought it would be, and it feels like work, and that's kind of the worst review. Do you know what I mean? If a game's like straight up fucking awful, it's a fun write-up because you know you're not going to be slanderous, but it can be a fun write-up. If a game's incredible, it's a fun write-up because you just get to really flourish your love upon a game. But when a game irks you because you just can't get it, it becomes hard work. And Night in the Woods, I can absolutely appreciate the visuals of, absolutely appreciate the writing of. I just can't get into it. Like I desperately want to. There's few games that have made me feel this way. I don't know what it is. But
I still haven't had a chance to play it. It strikes me as a game that I might enjoy, but I
thought
because I haven't played it, I don't have an opinion on it.
So I've spoken to someone off podcast about this, and he said he enjoyed it. He gave it quite a high score. I think the thing is for me is that people seem to be saying, yeah, you're not really supposed to like them. It's like, but they're kind of, all these characters like May and Greg, they're kind of people you knew, you know, either you were a Greg or you were a May when you were growing up, or you knew someone that was like it. The problem I've got with it is that they're very clearly framed as 20 years old. Now, there's May, the cat you play as, has a friend, I forget her name actually, the crocodile. Chris, what's her name? But it's B. It's Beatrice, yeah. B. Okay, now she is... Her story is basically, so May's finished college, she's dropped out, she's gone home, back to her sort of quiet, foresty town. But B, in the meantime, unbeknownst to May, and this happens early on, her parents have died. So she's had to take on the family business. So and she's grown up very quickly because she's had to. And I guess I wasn't quite as straight as she is, but I felt like I grew up very quickly, long before my time. May, on the other hand, has come back, is 20. I guess she left a few years ago and sort of expects the town to just be exactly as it was and all her friends to be exactly as they are. And some have changed, people have moved on. The trouble is that's your character. And while you can talk to the other ones, like there's one bit where she has an argument with her mum, and her mum's like, you know, hey honey, if at any point you'd like to talk to us about why you dropped out of college, that'd be great, because you know, and then as May, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm not really ready to yet. And she's like, oh, that's fine. You know, it would be great because, you know, your father and I got into like a lot of debt and kind of would just love to know why that was all wasted. I just want to know. And then they have this argument, and it's like, I'm totally with the mum there. I can't help it. I can't help but be with the mum. It's like, look, the mum isn't having a go at her. Isn't saying, you piece of shit, you wasted my money. She's just trying to understand her. And I think... Nick, your kids are the same your kids are the same age as my boy, I think, or thereabouts. It's like they're at that point where they're young men, and their version of being a young man is different to what mine was. There are similarities, and I want to understand it. I want to be his friend. I want to understand what they're going through because it's so different. The trouble is, again, I can't stand these kids in this game, and they're not kids. They're 20. So I feel like while the writing's sharp, the writing's good, it's well written, the problem I have with them is they're 20. They're all 20. You know, and it's like, I find it hard to put myself in those shoes because I wasn't like that when I was 20. I did all my sowing of wild oats, I did all my drinking underage, you know, a lot of people did. By 20, I was the unusual one. I was starting to get my head in a bit of gear and start, you know, I don't know, I just find... In terms of a story, even if you love the characters, right? Even if you love the characters, if you think, oh, this is the best written characters, oh yeah, great. But in terms of an actual story, I don't think there's much there. And I've played about 4 or 5 hours of it, and I just don't feel there's much story there. Like, the story seems to be the characters. There isn't a narrative.
Get rid of it then?
Well, I know Chris might feel very strongly opposite to me.
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't feel.
All that talk in there was me thinking he's going to come back.
No,
I thought.
No,
okay.
I think you've got a completely valid point. The reason I started to play it was to write something about what May is going through in terms of like her mental health, and
yeah, it sucks for her. It's not in the right mind at all.
No,
you know
but
I mean.
She isn't likable. It's like.
In the least. No,
and her friends are fine. You know, they're just kind of there. But the writing for the father was the thing that kind of got to me. And right near the end, he stood outside their house, and May comes out, you know, like she does every day. She walks up the road and goes to see her friends and dicks about.
Yeah.
One day she comes out the house, and the dad's just stood there, and she's like, "Are you all right?" And he's like, the first time he's kind of really honest, and he's just like, "No, I'm not. I'm so tired of going to work all the time. I'm so tired of going to the deli counter where he works. All I'm trying to do in life is to make money to give you what you want and give you the best life you can have. I'm not bothered about buying things for myself. I just want to see you and your mother smile and be happy." And
God, you're going to make me cry in a minute, Chris. This is a bit too close to home, mate. This is...
Well, this is it. This is what I wasn't planning on writing about Stan Borowski, but I ended up, that just really kind of hit me. And for me, that was what made this game what it was. It wasn't what I initially thought it would be, and it'd be about May and her friends and how she deals with her life. She's actually quite selfish. It's the dad who goes to work and does everything he can for his kids and his wife, and they haven't got a lot of money, they haven't got the best of times, but they also love each other, and that's always kind of present. That's why they care for us so much. That's why they care for each other. You know, a lot of people go through a lot worse than, I mean, don't go through as much as like the difficulties those two do, but they're still together because they've kind of got solid foundations. And he knows that he's in that job for not forever, but what it seems like forever, but he does it because he knows that by doing so he gives his kids a good life. And for me, that's why I really appreciated what Night in the Woods did. But that's one part of a bigger game, you know. So
it is well written. Like, I knew a Greg, like I had a Greg that would, even if it looked like, oh, maybe Adam's sort of getting himself in control, you know, he's getting his life on track. I had a Greg that would pull me astray and pull me back to my old ways. You know, I think everyone has that person. I don't know, just if it.
No, I'm happy to cut it. It's worth getting to the end just to kind of go through those end scenes, because there's some really decent kind of writing in. I know it's good throughout, but those last few.
Do they do anything with the dream stuff? Does the dream stuff go anywhere?
Mate, I can't even remember.
So when you go to sleep at night,
there's
like a dream sequence where you run around and you light lanterns up and you find these 4 musicians playing, and they just keep doing that every time between loading.
Did you meet God, or the cat that was God?
No.
Okay. It goes deep with stuff about kind of existence and purpose and meaning and stuff.
Right.
With those dreams, but it beyond that, it's I don't know if the focus was right. I don't know if May was the right focus, or whether she was just a kind of tool to tell everyone else's story, because it does seem about her, but a lot of the times it seems about her surroundings and the people she's with. So I don't know, but I would probably cut it from the list, but it's certainly worth a mention.
Okay, it's gone. Yeah,
I'm happy.
Yep.
Whose turn is it? That was a long discussion. I still feel uncomfortable with Injustice here. I'm sorry, guys. I feel very uncomfortable, and the thinner the list gets. I mean, there's only one game aside Injustice I would be like, yeah, cut it right now, and that's Persona 5.
I would say that, because I've not played enough to kind of.
I was going to make a joke and say, has anybody seen all of the story? Isn't it like a humongous game?
100 hours, yeah. I mean, the problem with Persona 5 is that whereas Persona 4 is about sort of the heroes, so to speak, Persona 5 focuses on the villains. So, like, when you go into the dungeons, like, it's about exposing the villain who runs the dungeon rather than learning. You do. I mean, it's not like there's no discussion about the heroes, but the focus definitely shifts that way. You know.
Yeah. Pretty dark as well.
Very dark. I mean, the first one is literally a child, not, well, I don't want to say paedophile, but a sort of, certainly a handsy teacher.
Yes, very.
And I think it only gets darker. I haven't finished it. Like,
no,
I'm cutting it unless anyone feels.
No, we'll be giving it its due in visuals and sound design later, and
best style.
It's certainly a fucking sexy game, but story, cut it.
Right. before we cut it, because I know it's going to get cut. I just want to. I want to give Injustice 2 the props it deserves.
It only gets cut if there's a majority vote, and I'm not a majority vote. Oh, okay, now it's too...
Just, it's like Injustice 1, Superman rips out Joker's heart. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing, Nicola.
I'm sorry, I honestly don't care.
No, just...
Brutal.
No, it does such a good job of bringing in characters which everyone, any DC fan knows and loves, or not, but it turns most of them on the head, and it does such a good job of that, and the storytelling itself is really good, and I know this is for another day, but it's definitely going to be in contention for best visuals.
I don't think it gets cut based on what you and Chris are saying, but I think you're going to have to propose a counter cut if you will. And this list's real tight now. Just to remind people, we've got Horizon, Injustice, Edith Finch, Last Days of June, Nier Automata, Yakuza 0, and Wolfenstein 2. Like that, we have to cut 2 of these.
So, no, Gary, you go because I've got one stored.
You go because I don't know, the majority on this list now I haven't actually played. So I'm kind of going to be just...
I know what Chris is going to say, and it's going to kill me, but I think I'm going to agree with him. Go on, Chris.
I was going to say Last Day of June.
Yeah, I know you were. I know.
And
I know.
It's it is a great story. However, you have to spend a lot of time with this game to kind of work out some of the puzzles, and it does grind you down a little bit, and it does take a bit of time. But the story is really interesting, and it's so sad, and the kind of the end scene where you're in the graveyard and it is really sad, but it's the fact that it kind of loses the emotional impact every time you watch your wife die in the car crash.
Yeah.
So you're constantly seeing it, and then when you watch it for the first time, it's like, fuck. Like, it builds up.
If they could just tighten up the loading times at least.
Exactly.
Just to make it...
Yeah.
And then add them bloody loads to the repeated cutscene. It's such...
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah. But
And also, I have to say, the very, very, very end of the game left me a little bit confused, as I wasn't 100% sure what actually happened.
Yeah, same.
But the journey... I'm a very simple man, and this game plays on one of my greatest fears. Like, I'm not ashamed to say my wife's my best friend in the whole wide world, and like just the opening of that game is my nightmare. Like just the thought of that is the most terrifying thing I could imagine, bar none. Like if you've got that feeling with another person, and that it's just one of those things that once you've got it, the idea of losing it is terrifying. But you're right, the story itself is kind of ruined because of the repetition, ruined because of the cutscenes, and ruined because of a little bit of ambiguity. I can't speak now, I've got Nicola's disease. Ambiguity.
I've not even had wine.
Nor have I, I'm just... yeah, okay, Chris, okay. I just want to, again, give its props because it's we'll talk about it in visuals, but like this is like a Tim Burton film in video game form, and I think... Yeah. Okay, it's gone. We still have one to cut.
Well, that's kind of what this category is all about as well, though. It's not just the winners. It's about giving props to the ones that actually deserve to be played and experienced, even if they're not the highest quality of the entire year.
Yep. We've got to cut one. Gaz.
Come on, Gary, you can do it. You can do it, Gary.
Nicola?
Right. I haven't played Injustice 2. I haven't played Injustice 2, and I never will. And I've not played Yakuza 0, but I know that Chris waxed lyrical about that.
I thought you were going to say wax off.
Yeah.
I mean, listen.
Story-wise, I have no idea. I've no
trophy in it for watching those in the soap house, isn't there, Chris?
Yeah.
Or is that Kiwami? In fact, I think it's both. I think both.
No,
of
I
them
think
got a
it's
trophy
I
for
think
watching
Zero
that.
has. Yeah.
I don't know anything about the story in Yakuza 0, whether that holds up or whether it's another open world type thing.
No, it's a celebration of video games. It's a celebration of the insanity that only a video game story can be. Like
Right.
you can't get away with what they do in Yakuza in a film, I don't think. Not as well.
Right.
Like
okay.
it's kind of the sort of story that can only exist in a video game, and I think that makes it so fucking special.
We'll get rid of Injustice then.
I mean, you're preaching to the converted, but like again, it doesn't have to be Yakuza or Injustice. If Chris and Gaz feel there's another game we should cut. But I mean, this is some list now. We're just to remind you.
See, I'm going to be a bit of a spanner in the works with What Remains of Edith Finch.
Yeah, I was surprised you hadn't cut that. Know how you feel about it.
But I mean, I didn't get on with it.
Did you finish it?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it's a couple of hours tops. I didn't really get on with it, but I can see why it appealed to a lot of people. But it's not my bag.
That's fair enough.
So, but I still probably think that it needs to be top 5. I feel maybe Injustice 2 needs to go.
Well, I mean, I feel what needs to happen is like Gaz and Chris right now are the kind of blockers from us moving into arranging a top 5. If they want Injustice 2, we have to have another one that we cut. We have to. That's the way it works. And
Right.
I'm open to hear which they would be, but we have to have a suggestion.
I'm going to speak up here. So, if I'm going to get rid of any of those, in terms of the quality of each story, it would probably be... It would be Injustice 2.
Okay.
Because every other game has been excellent in terms of the journey it takes and the kind of twists it makes, and just pure enjoyment. I enjoyed playing. I wanted to play more. And take What Remains of Edith Finch out of the way, because that's a 2-hour game. Every other one, I mean, and Wolfenstein, probably about 6. Well, I don't know how many hours I'm in, but I've played enough to kind of appreciate where it's going and what the story's saying.
Trust me. No, not yet. You have.
You haven't.
Not yet, mate.
But yeah, I'm really loving this list. But if I had to take one off,
Some list, isn't it?
it would be Injustice. Sorry,
Hey,
guys.
Gaz, just kind of speak now or forever hold your peace, mate.
No, I'm gonna at least say I'm happy that it's got this far. At least it's kind of got its due. But like, you guys are so passionate about everything else. I've only heard good things about Nier Automata, although we've not spoke about that one yet.
I mean, I don't even know how we can start with that one, if I'm honest with you. I don't know how we even start without it being a 5-hour podcast. Like, the game's insane. Like, it you know how people talk about Hideo Kojima and Metal Gear Solid and the story of Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like what Yoko Taro does with Nier Automata. He does in one game what Hideo Kojima took 5 games and multiple spin-off games to do. Like, I feel like every batshit idea that people talked about, like, I remember once upon a time, like, my favourite band in the world, Manic Street Preachers, they talked about making their first LP, because back then they were LPs, kids who are listening, and luckily the people I'm with know what a vinyl LP is if I just say LP. They talked about making the sleeve for their LP out of sandpaper, so that whatever they put it next to it would ruin everything else. Like, that kind of batshit idea that the record label went, yeah, fuck off, lads. You know, that, you know, and you know, like Kojima, like, oh, and if you die, the game's deleted from your hard drive. Like, so Nier Automata, I've said it 3 different ways now: automata, Nier Automata. Where if you go right to the very end of multiple playthroughs, you are asked to sacrifice your save game. You delete it, it's gone. So the game you spent 60 hours going through multiple times, getting all these endings, to get one of the endings, the kind of your final one, I suppose, it asks you need to sacrifice your save because you are the ultimate sacrifice. That's a Kojima thing, right?
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's just. I don't. We should do a spoiler cast on that game because.
Yeah.
I need to play
the fish.
Yeah,
The fish.
So do I.
The fish that you can eat.
Bully Mick.
And it kills you. And your game ends. That's one of the ending, isn't it?
I mean, like, so that. We have to. So, the first playthrough, you play through, and the side quest stuff's not great. The game itself is interesting. The combat's not the best combat Platinum have ever done by any stretch, actually. Probably up there with one of the weakest combat systems, unless you really get into the chip system and move it all around. There's a section at the beginning of the game where 9S boots up 2B, and you go through the options menu, and it brings up the options menu, and he's talking to you, and you're going through the options menu. And you set up the game, kind of thing. Second playthrough, you swap characters. You're playing as him now, and he boots her up. It's a repeat of the first playthrough from a different perspective. And this is going to be one of my best moments of the year, because I realised it did actually record what I did in the options menu. It was actually playing back my 2B, and it blew my mind. Like, it's insane, and the whole game is predicated on multiple playthroughs, understanding everything about this android versus robots, and the ultimate story being that, again, without getting too philosophical, they're kind of all gone. You know what I mean? The humans are all gone, but they've been fooled into thinking they're not all gone, just to keep things ticking along. And it's incredible, and like it has to be top 3 for me, I think.
I agree. I think it's fascinating, and there's so many kind of different things going on, and like the scene where all those robots are like, I don't know, is it a fairground where they're all kind of like, just, I don't know, they're celebrating something, but they're robots and they've got no feelings, but like, it's just a really fucking weird scene. And then you fight the boss of that kind of circus thing, and that's insane. And then you go back to the main city, and there's that huge robot that's like 80 stories high, and it's just, everything about it's just insane. And like the different endings, you say, like there's loads, and you know, the first playthrough is about 8 hours, but then and then you're playing through as 2B, the girl, and then the second playthrough is the
9S.
9S, and it's basically the same story but from his point of view. And there's parts of the story where you two aren't together, so you're seeing what he's up to when he's doing what he's doing.
And his playthrough has different gameplay.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
sounds a little bit like Resident Evil 2. You know, like you're seeing like the other angle.
Yeah, it does.
But this goes further, like 9S.
Yeah, like he's changing the gameplay as well.
Yeah, 2B, like, you know, it's hack and slash, fairly traditional Platinum hack and slash. 9S, like, you hack them and it turns into a shmup. Like, you have to shoot the nodes to win and stuff. And then there's more. And I sort of don't want to spoil, unless I have to. But like I mean, listen, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Are we cutting Injustice 2 or not? That's the question.
Yes.
Yeah, we get it.
Right. I'm going to make a claim, a bold claim.
Yes.
And I'm going to do this
to
start with.
Absolutely.
And what I've done there is put Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, as best story of 2017.
Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt.
I mean, yes, it's batshit, right? We've established that on podcasts leading up to now. We've all, you know, the people who've played it have agreed it's just insane. But it also, and as I said, I think I did say this in the podcast, it's important from a social commentary angle. Like, we live in difficult times, shall we say, and those of us who lean a certain way, shall we say, trying not to be too political on the Game of the Year podcast, will feel very strongly about this game, I think, because it kind of, like, I really enjoy punching Nazis. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think you're both very passionate about it, and there's not one game on this list where anyone else feels as strongly about. And I'm enjoying what I've played. I've as I say, I've probably barely scratched the surface, but I'm enjoying it a lot. And it's insane from what I've played, but as I say, I've barely touched it. So I think I'm happy for it to be one. I wouldn't put Horizon second.
I actually would. That's a happy accident, but I actually would.
Okay. I think
it's not my list. It's not my list.
I know. I think it's.
I think Wolfenstein is similar to what I said about Yakuza, Nick. Like it can only really be done in a video game. I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just about the punching Nazis element of the story. There's lots of. I mean, the character development is exceptional. I felt certainly, BJ, who's pretty much a blank canvas, really. They managed
He could have been Gordon Freeman and it still would have been a good game.
Yeah.
He could have been a mute,
I mean, he's such a complicated character. I mean, he's this symbol both for the resistance and for the Nazis. But they just get some real depth into him in surprising ways, I felt, particularly as he, as we've said, I think on the previous podcast, this idea of this sort of, old school action hero. What they do with him in this story is pretty remarkable, really. But it's not just about BJ.
No.
It's about the other characters as well. That you
feel something for almost all of the main ones. Like Sigmund, I thought was great at her arc as well.
Yeah, you've got his lady, who I've forgotten her name. Anya, yeah.
I thought they were going to go somewhere with her because she's pregnant.
Yeah, I mean, there's some real funny moments in it as well, like
when she strips off and that's fucking. My kid walked in right when that.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, I know. Like I mean, I'm not being funny. I wasn't expecting that.
No, but she kind of foreshadowed it a little bit, though, hadn't she?
Bit. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Saying that this was like getting her blood up.
Yeah, but I just I get that, but I still wasn't expecting that because after that I was like, oh shit, I think they're gonna just do it like right here,
no.
and thankfully they didn't quite go that far. But like,
I really like his reaction to that at that point because he's looking at her, and she's topless, isn't she? She's naked from the top
covered
up,
in blood,
covered in blood, heavily pregnant.
Yeah,
I mean, she's ready to pop.
I mean, I thought she was going to have her children there and there, to be honest
and
with you.
he's just looking at her like she's a goddess. And I mean,
that's the thing I get. Like, that's just adoration. Like, I feel like, he just loves that woman. Like, yeah. It's just such a good game.
It is.
It's such a good story.
Definitely first place. God, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
what would you have as number 2 then?
Personally, probably Horizon.
Okay.
But that's going to be because I haven't played 2 of the games on this list. I haven't played Nier yet. Keep Mida and Mick. I haven't played it yet. Yakuza 0 I've not played. I would put, even though I haven't played those 2, I'd put What Remains of Edith Finch at 5.
I actually would too.
I'd put it at 5. And then I don't really care for 3 and 4.
Okay. Well, Gaz.
Yeah.
You haven't played these either, have you?
Nope.
This feels like a straight fight between me and Chris.
It is pretty much. I think. Yeah. At this point I've played Horizon, and that's it on this list now.
And you didn't even like that.
To give it its due, its story is actually very good.
I mean,
its gameplay that bored me after a while.
Oh, Horizon's story is way better than it has any right to be.
Yeah,
I think. Like,
it absolutely does.
It made me a bit weepy at the end. Actually, I was quite surprised by it. Yeah, like when she finally finds someone, and that someone's obviously long dead, and she takes the little object off of her. That made me a bit weepy because like that her journey kind of had come to an end there.
Mm.
And it made me a little bit weepy, like misty-eyed. Like that's a real nice way to end it. And then they do the after the credits thing, which I think I actually think that brings it down. I
think it's just so it gives you a hope for a sequel, even though we all fucking knew.
I don't know that it needs it though.
I
don't think it needs it. Like I feel like Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't actually think it needs a sequel. So I played 8-9 hours. I've talked on the podcast, and people talked about, oh yeah, there'll definitely be a sequel. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, if it's done well enough, it's Sony first party, it'll definitely get a sequel.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. But playing it and going through the story and understanding the world that they've got, I was sort of felt, I don't think it needs a sequel. Like, I don't know where they go with it, because I feel like if the sequel is that, because it right at the end it shows you one enormous enemy, right, that you don't see in the game. Where Silence is like, he's there with that. I'm not going to say too much because I don't need to unnecessarily spoil it. But Silence is there and he's with that Hades, and there's an enemy that you've not seen the type of before, like a giant machine. Now,
you have seen that before, by the way.
I don't think so. I think it's too big to be any of the ones from the game. It's
no,
enormous.
There is. It's the destroyer thing that you have to fight one to get into what would have been the big high-rise building. And you have to go
fighting anything that
big. You have to kill it before you can get through the gap, which then leads you into the big long climb up. And you would have had to have gone back there, because that was where one of the...
Are you saying it's a Deathbringer?
Yeah. It's a bit like a Deathbringer.
No, a bit like, but I thought it was more like a Scorpion style one. It looked enormous.
What, like a mixture between a Corruptor and a Deathbringer?
Yeah, like but 4 times bigger than a Deathbringer. And my problem with that was that if, say, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 or whatever they call it, they probably won't call it that.
They definitely fight at least one, maybe 2 Deathbringers.
Oh no, you fight way more than that. You fight about 5 or 6 in the game. Like there's, the end sequence puts 3 or 4 coming at you at once when you've got the rocket launcher. But I don't. I mean, again, I don't think that is a Deathbringer. I think it's too big. But even if, I just don't know what they do with a sequel. Like if they just introduce new enemies like that, where were they the whole time? Like,
well. Right, so we are getting in spoiler territory here.
Yeah.
I don't think that thing you fight is actually Hades. Hades is in it. Hades has done its little magic thing.
No, I'm talking about right at the end of the credits thing, post-credits section.
What?
Did you not get a post-credits section?
Oh my god, have I missed something?
I mean, I had platinum, like...
Yeah, I planned it as well. So,
yeah,
are you talking about what's-his-face?
So at the end of after the credits,
Lance Reddick,
Silence gets Hades back, and he comes into his little weird lantern-y thing, and then he walks off and he says, "My old friend, knowledge is its own reward," or something like that. And he says, "We've got a lot of work to do," and the camera pans out, and there's a new machine there that you've not seen before that is absolutely enormous. And my thing is if that's going to be Horizon Zero Dawn 2's thing.
Okay, yeah. But isn't that is right? Sorry, we're getting off track a bit here, but isn't that thing in that he says this is the the big thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you see on the horizon all the time anyway? It's like a big lots of arms, almost like Doc Octopus from Chuffin Spider-Man 2. It's like loads of these arms. And there was you actually go to that bit when you first fight one of the Deathbringers, don't you? Now it's never explained what that is.
I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. You have to.
Okay.
I think afterwards, when you're sliding down, like you're seeing you're kind of going through the tentacles.
Yeah, it's never really explained what it is.
But then that does mean it's something new, which I guess is a basis for the next game. But my concern is, do they just come up with new animals? And if so, where were they the whole time?
You could always set it, if you set it later, it could just be new ones that have, the new ones that you haven't seen because it's in a different area.
Oh no, they're in it.
Dinosaurs.
Well, they're in it, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah,
Thunderjaw.
T-Rex thing. Yeah, Thunderjaw's a T-Rex, isn't it?
If they're going to do a sequel, I think they should do it.
They are going to do a sequel, 100%.
Do it as a new character. I think her
story was done. Yeah, I agree. But that said, she's my favourite character of 2017, so I don't want a Horizon game if she's not in it, really.
Yeah.
So, Chris, how much do you disagree Hang on, if I I haven't finished it. If I do this, how much do you? I'm not telling the audience for a reason. How much do you disagree if I do that?
I don't necessarily disagree with it. I think Nia's story, in terms of just the one playthrough, was cool. It was interesting, but it's the layered games that make it more than what it is. So for that, I would probably have it just Edge Horizon, but that's not to say I didn't love Horizon's story. So I'm quite happy to keep Horizon where it is, just for the kind of majority vote. Honestly, I would probably put Yakuza ahead of
Yes, say it. Yes, Chris.
Because what remains of Edith Finch as a game is one of my
just fine.
One of my favourite games of the year. However, Yakuza 0 went in
Chris.
all kinds of ways, mate. So for me, I'm happy with that list right there.
If everyone agrees with that list is locked. I'm so happy. That is perfect.
I'm happy with that.
I initially put Yakuza there because I thought there's no way Chris is gonna.
No, I'm good.
Okay, that's fine. Locked. Best story then. This has made me so happy. 5th place, What Remains of Edith Finch. 4th place, Yakuza 0. 3rd place, Nier Automata. 2nd place, Horizon Zero Dawn. And the winner of Best Story is Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. And the final category for today, which I think we're going to rush through, not because we're rushing, but because I think it's quite a simple one, it's Best Sports Game or Racing Game.
Get rid of them all.
Yes, right. I think it's probably the only one who's played them all. The nominees are FIFA 18, PES 18, Forza 7, Project Cars 2, GT Sport, Madden 18, Everybody's Golf, and I've added Pyre. Gaz, I'm going to go to you here, and I'm going to say, as someone who played most of these, are there any you think we can just cut straight away?
Madden.
No.
Project Cars 2.
See, I'd have Project Cars 2 above Forza and GT Sport.
Oh, Gary, I thought this was going to be so simple.
Well, Project Cars 2 has so much depth compared to the others.
Does it have cars?
It does.
It's definitely got cars.
Funnily enough, it's got lots of cars.
I'm going to be really, really useless on this category. I'm so sorry.
To be fair, I wasn't much better in the last category, which was much more important.
Hang on then, before we get into this, we have to have a quick discussion. Is Pyre on here or not?
No, I just wanted to mention it because it's
That's
good
fine.
fun.
I did say
and
quickly. So.
It does have a good element of sport in it, but
I mean, it's
it can't compete.
I've not played Everybody's Golf. Is it worth being on? Is it that good? Yeah.
I think it deserves to be on the list somewhere, even if it's last.
You know, I would have FIFA and PES on here. I think both are great this year. I'd have Forza 7 on here. And then I'd have to yield to you guys, and I get the feeling that you were going to go for GT Sport and Madden between you, and that pushes Everybody's Golf off the list, I think.
I'd have Project Cars 2 above GT Sport and above Forza. I just think it's just got more to it than the others. As much as I think GT Sport's the best overall racer, but just as an overall package, sports-wise, or racing-wise in this case, Project Cars 2's got so much more.
Okay, I'm confused.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
Are you talking about this is best sports game / racer game?
Yeah, it didn't.
And you've just said that GT
just
Sport is a better
No,
racer.
No, it's I'm just thinking just like as an overall thing.
I don't understand. I don't understand, Gareth. I'm sorry, mate. I don't. If GT Sport's the best racing game, that's fine. It sort of starts at number 1, but then what if you think Project Cars is a better game? How?
All right, cut it.
Wait, which one?
Cut Project
Cut
Cars.
it. I thought I was only talking about which one you had above the other one.
You're kind of talking me round.
You're playing with his head.
I'm confused again. Which one are we
I'm
cutting?
I'm tired.
I think we all are.
Yeah, cut Project Cars 2. Because as much as it's a much more complete package than either Forza or GT Sport, and as an actual full racing thing.
Then?
But it's just to be the better game, you have to fiddle a lot with the handling. So because of that,
but is that not the point of Project Cars? Is it not the hardcore racing game fans?
It is, but in that way, I suppose it's limiting it too much.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, because like stuff like FIFA and PES, I mean, they are still quite niche, if you know what I mean. But you're not having to mess with anything to play it as it's meant to be played. You know what I mean? Whereas Project Cars, you do.
So, of this list of 6, FIFA, PES, Forza, GT Sport, Madden, I mean, no one's going to make a case for adding any of the NBA games or NHL or WWE, I suppose. WWE counts, but like, yeah, all right, come on. So, Gaz, what would you be cutting to get 2 or 5 that we can rank?
See, the problem is, other than Forza 7 and GT Sport, I've not played any of the others on this list.
I mean, all right, let me change that then. Chris, would you agree that FIFA and PES both make it?
Yes.
So for me, I think the one that needs to cut is either of Madden or everyone's golf.
You can't cut Madden. You can cut golf, but not Madden.
Oh, see, I was gonna do a case with golf just because it was different to all the others.
Well, I've never played any of the racing games, so I would just cut them. But that's not the point. Like I think Madden 18 is an exceptional sports game because.
Okay, I'm having to completely yield to you on this because
not only does it run smoothly, look smoothly, the presentation is excellent, and the commentary is not as lame as it was last year. The gameplay itself is fantastic. Now, I like watching American football, so it might be easier to say than other people because it's a very kind of slow game, but they've got it spot on. It's very tactical. It's your players. The most important thing in a Madden game is that the AI follows the playbook. So when you pick a play, that play needs to happen, and sometimes it might not because the defense have countered your attack, but you need the AI to move properly for you, and you need those running backs to make space at the top so you can get your pass to them. So the AI is exceptional in the game. I think the different modes are excellent. I haven't even mentioned Long Shot, which was brilliant. Like the story for that was really good. And
I remember you liking that.
Yeah,
But the thing is, I can't make a case for everybody's golf as strong as the one he's making for Madden.
Right.
I think everybody's golf is a wonderful series. I loved it from Hot Shots golf. It'll always be to me, but I can't speak as passionately about it the way that Chris is about Madden.
I've been playing everybody's golf for about 2 hours, pretty much every night for about the last 4 weeks with my wife because we're obsessed with it. We love it, and we're really kind of into playing it together. And it's a really good, fun game, and it's not too difficult, and it's challenging. But as you look at this list and you see what's already there, these are the best of the best. They're the best sports games, and they are the best races. So it doesn't really compete, but it certainly deserves a mention because it is a really, really good game.
I had a feeling you'd be doing that, Adam.
Well, I'm just thinking that I think enough of us on the site said it's the best football game.
Yeah.
That's the best feeling football game, and ultimately, when you strip away any sports game or racer, and that's why these are grouped together, the categories. Also, because there wouldn't be obviously enough of. Well, there would have this year probably, but the reason they're grouped together is once you strip away all the shit, what you are left with a sports game or racing game is the granular, singular feeling of a match, a race.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps you coming back for the 12 months before the next version of it comes out,
Yeah.
That's what keeps you playing Forza 7 till Forza Horizon 4. That's what keeps you playing Madden till Madden 19, PES till PES. And I think in terms of that, like PES on the pitch is astonishing. I just don't think when you strip it down to the granular notion of the thing that makes you come back, PES is untouchable, I think. Despite all the improvements of FIFA, I think FIFA drops down the list. Like from what Chris is saying about Madden, I think Madden's going to go above FIFA. I think the way you feel about GT Sport, I can't speak as passionately about FIFA.
Yeah, I mean, GT Sport I definitely think should be higher. I mean, you know me, I love my racing games. I love racing in general. And GT Sport for me is like the pinnacle of that feeling of an actual race, which I never thought you'd get from an online racer because, well, we all know the first corner thing. You know, it's a long-running joke of any online racer, but because of how well this one works at sort of putting you into categories with like-minded players, I get people like me playing it, so I'm not getting that everyone smashing into you in the first corner. It's not perfect, sometimes people cock up and there's crashes do happen, but that's racing, you know.
Yeah.
If someone just makes a mistake and causes a crash, that's racing.
Yep.
Whereas if someone's just being a dick and driving into the back of you, that's not. And I've not had any game yet give me that feeling until now. Not like that, you know, it's so good, so well made. It looks gorgeous. It handles really well. And yeah, I couldn't. As much as I enjoyed Forza 7, it's not there.
So
I think 6 was better.
Do we think Forza 7 should be on this list, or should Project Cars be where Forza 7 is?
Forza 7, like I said, you don't have to fiddle with that to get it playing properly.
Let me ask you, as the racing game expert, right?
Yeah.
Let's boil this down to binary kind of yes or no type question. Forza 7 or Project Cars 2? The discs are in front of you. You can only take one.
If we're going off my review score,
no, forget about that. No, right now, because you know that's what we're doing. We're in the moment.
Project Cars 2 then.
Yep.
I didn't fight it because I know you.
I would appreciate if you could call it the game. If you could name it properly though, because it's Project Cars 2.
Yeah, shout it.
I just didn't want that game. You know. They couldn't come up with anything better. Just call it Cars.
See, that's another one. It's a bit like Code Vein. It's like it seemed like the placeholder name, and it's like, no, we're releasing it as that. Like, all right, okay.
So, what do we think of the list we've got here currently? 5th, Project Cars 2, 4th, FIFA 18, 3rd, Madden 18, 2nd, GT Sport, 1st, PES. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with that.
No, I mean, it's like Gaz has not played Madden. I've not played GT Sport, but like I'm not like as passionate as Gary is, so I think it's fair. It's fair to put GT Sport ahead. And PES is just it's phenomenal in it. It's one of the best sports games. Well, of the year, but ever, and it keeps bettering itself. So
final question before I lock these in: 4th or 5th place for Project Cars 2, Gary?
I don't know, I've not played FIFA. I mean, you speak quite highly of it.
I just think they turned it around. Like the last year's it was bad, and this year they've added loads to it. They still need to touch up a lot of stuff. They still need to give some proper attention to career mode. There's a lot they need to do to that game, but generally speaking, they've really surprised me, I guess, this year.
Overall, I'm surprised this year by. I mean, I expected Forza to be the best racer this year, and yet here I am.
Not even the third.
Yeah, here I am putting
best.
GT Sport, which I expected to, I don't know, just be bland and boring, like the past few have been. Project Cars, the first one, I could not get into because the handling it was too much
fixed
of a
the controller,
faff.
didn't they?
Yeah, they've really turned it around. So just in the fact that they've managed to do that is, you know, they deserve credit for that.
Okay. Are we locking this in?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
So in 5th place for best sports or racing game, Project Cars 2. 4th place, FIFA 18. 3rd, Madden 18, GT Sport in 2nd. And the best this year is PES 18. And that is day 2. That's a wrap. We did best new IP, best story, best sports or racer. Day 1 you can go back to, best re-release or remake, nicest or biggest surprise, and the biggest disappointment. Tomorrow, as my voice fades into near enough death, we will be doing best multiplayer. Oh God! Best multiplayer, best audio design, and best visuals. And actually, having said I thought today would be a bloodbath, tomorrow My word, that's a lot of games to talk about. And that's not it. Day 4 still to come, which is going to be a slower day, but I guess the most spoilery one with the best moment and most anticipated of 2017. And then day 5 is the big one. It's just a game of the year. That's it. That's the category for the final day, and that will see you through Christmas. Nicola, thank you for being here.
You're very welcome.
Chris, same to you.
Thank you.
And Gaz, as always, it's appreciated.
Awesome.
Good. Right. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a question for you. Everyone happy so far? Are we all still friends?
Yeah. I
think it's gone remarkably well, to be honest. We've been very... what's the word?
Cordial.
Diplomatic, cordial,
yeah.
Respectful.
I genuinely think it'll be fine till day 5. I genuinely think day 5 is going to be very hard. But hey, listen, we've got lots of hours before we get there. Make sure you stay tuned to godasgeek.com. You won't miss it. If you're a Patreon, you'll be getting these all a day early, so you'll get your first one. Well, you've already had it on Sunday. This will be Mondays, so on and so forth. That's for $1 a month. Thanks to the people that support us. It means the world to us. But that's it for today. Day 2 is over. I'm going to go get a Strepsil and a little bit of a sleep, if I'm honest with you. And we'll see you. And we'll see you tomorrow for day 3. Thanks for listening. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye.